Please rise for the pledge. Ultimate door.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Paul Kearney,
I think I'm here.
good job. Al Davis,
Here.
Charlie Keel. He's with us in memory. Robert Laraway,
Proud to be here.
thank you. Brent Peavy, here. Carol Shannon here. Dave Torkelson,
Here. 6.
got it.
Have a quorum. Agenda. Anything to talk about on the agenda? No objections. We'll approve the agenda as written. Consent agenda, item 4. Anything you want to take out and talk about?
Move to accept.
Motion made by Laraway to accept the consent agenda,
I'll second.
seconded by CUNY. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion, all in favor say, or opposed, say no. Motion carries. I wanted to skip a step there, didn't I?
Okay.
All right. Only thing I have on the agenda is I think we have to keep our eye on Isabella County's financial situation, because it's going to probably directly or indirectly affect our recycling program and or our patrol. So, because we all know when there's a budget shortfall of that amount, it comes to layoffs. And so that's the easiest way to make up the shortfall. So I think we just have to keep aware of that and keep our nose, our ears to the ground on that. With that, Mr. Manager?
Good evening, folks. You've got a report in your packet. A few items I did want to touch base with you on tonight. Your permit activity and your code enforcement stuff that's in the packet. We are probably going to see an incoming site plan for the planning commission in the next month or two. If you haven't noticed, there's a sign next to the bank, future site of Protons. They purchased those 2 lots, 2 plat lots in Gulf Estates 2. And they're gonna build, their intention is to build an office there. They're not gonna move the landscaping, business, that kind of stuff. They're just gonna have like an office, showroom, so they keep the business end away from the actual work end and hopefully have a cleaner, more attractive site. Met with Louis Proton about it a couple of times. He's working on drawings and getting the health department permits, those type of things. We had a floodplain issue come up regarding a potential home being built in Lake Isabella South down at the intersection of Clubhouse and Britton. The builder came in and said, this is in the floodplain. What do we need to do? I looked at the FEMA map. I'm like, FEMA map doesn't show it in the floodplain. They went and had elevations done, said, it's in the floodplain. I'm like, look, the floodplain is administered by Isabella County now because it's part of the building code. It's Appendix G of the building code. So, from our perspective, the FEMA map does not show you in the floodplain. Anything beyond that is going to be up to the county to determine during your building permit application. The most pressing is obviously having your ground floor elevation at least a foot above floodplain elevation. And any type of offset that may be needed if you're going to fill any part of that, you got to have a balance. If you're filling 2 cubic yards, you got to allow 2 cubic yards somewhere else for the water to go. But so from our end, from the zoning standpoint, the FEMA map doesn't show you in the floodplain, but so we've always gone by and treated as the gospel and the Bible is the FEMA floodplain map. And that's how we're going to proceed with it on our end. So they're continuing to work on their drawings and that kind of stuff. And, that'd be, another new home in South that I think is a nice addition in that area. Would be down the street from the one that's right on the curb we got built a few years ago. The Lake and River Restoration Project, I'm sure you guys saw the email I sent out a few weeks ago that, they submitted the first permit application for Birch Cove, the DEQ, Eagle, formerly known as DEQ. Requested some additional samplings to test for a couple of different elements. I don't remember what it was. They did that, shipped it off to the lab in Brighton. Those came back clean. So those have been submitted to Eagle as part of the application. That's the last update I have. We did have an article in the paper last week. It's kind of here's where the project's at. inviting companies to send us their name and phone, email if they're interested in the project. Mally's has, Savin has, we direct mail to them as well. I think like 14 different firms. We said, heads up, this is coming. We did have our traffic radar device out a couple of times in October, 3 times. We had it on Clubhouse Drive, kind of down by Channel Drive, El Camino on the straightaway, and then kind of across from Gilmore Park on Queensway. Traffic data, pretty consistent with what we saw in 21 when we tested those areas. So the average in the 85th percentile speed came down slightly on Clubhouse. El Camino was right pretty much the same as it was, a slightly lower traffic count. Queensway, a little bit lower on both the average and the 85th tile, but also the traffic was down by over 100 vehicles a day. That's what ADT is, average daily traffic. So when you're setting speed limits, Michigan law says you're supposed to base it largely on the 85th percentile. If the other alternative is driveway cuts or, if you're in a platted subdivision, you can drop it to 25. So, Mike Ferrello did contact us about getting the speed limit lowered on Coldwater Road. Unfortunately, that is up to the Michigan State Police and the Road Commission. We have no jurisdiction over that. And the Road Commission really doesn't have any jurisdiction because the traffic study is done by the MSP. So there you go.
Are that done during a weekday then, or?
We usually leave it up about 4 days at a time. So yeah.
So it's day, evening.
Yeah, we get a wide swath there.
Good.
The Forest 2 water system, the county Board of Public Works, which 2 of the members are sitting right here, has asked the county commissioners and county administrator to put together some type of offer to send our way. I obviously abstained from that conversation to the extent that I could as a representative of the village. The village has talked about this multiple times in the past. Last that I could find, the council's position was Gilmore Park was an absolute must in any type of transaction. Some other things that if they were to present a proposal that I would come back to you and say, these are the things that I think we need to be looking at. And this would be all the delinquent water bills and accounts receivable paid off. So we're not going to take over collecting on delinquent bills.
Which, so how much?
Well, if you look at their audit, it's 77,000 at the end of last fiscal year.
Just want that on the record there.
77 grand.
Is what the last audited number was. Yeah.
So you're saying they would have to write it off. It's not good. They're not gonna try to go after people or.
They're not even doing shutdown.
I would not ask them to write it off. I would ask them to pay it because that's contingent
Okay.
upon the fund balance
Pay it
that
so
they
that
would
it
be
doesn't
sending
come to us
Correct.
or to the people here.
The system has taken out some loans against the general fund to do some maintenance. All that would need to be forgiven. You would have to transfer that healthy fund balance. We would have to have an agreeable plan for the license transfer because it requires a D4, S4, and that's the motivating factor in this conversation. Is Tim Warner is looking to retire by the end of the year. He is the county employee that has the D4, S4 license. To test for the D4, S4 license, you have to spend at least 6 months working on the water system before you are eligible under a person who holds the license. And they only test twice a year, and the next one's in May. So unless they have somebody starting in the next couple of weeks, they're not going to make a test window for May of 2024. And then obviously I'd like the maintenance on the system reviewed by Roe to see if there's anything that is gapingly obvious needs to be addressed. But just so you know, that's where those would be at if something were to come forward. That's the list that would be coming to you after I say don't do it under any circumstances, because it's still my position.
Yeah, because you have to hire somebody, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
Be that.
and they have
I
to
don't
be
think we want to
licensed.
get on that kind of crap, be committed. I don't know, maybe we do.
The system generates about $55,000 to $60,000 a year. Is what their audit has showed. It should probably be a little bit higher because if every one of the ready to serve fees is paid on all the lots that are on the system, that alone is supposed to be about $65,000, I believe. So, and you have the commodity use on top of that. Commodity, I had access to a list that someone else had prepared recently through a bunch of other municipalities in the state. And I sent that, I think, to everybody through email that, the rate of serve fee is, on the higher end, but it's not the worst out there. And the commodity price is kind of in the middle. So I mean, I don't think comparatively what they're charging is outrageous. But I think that there definitely needs to be more foresight given to the finances of the system. That is all I have.
And there are other options we could explore too. We talked about. All right,
I have one question on the, you said you needed a licensed person to do the, right? Could we not share that with another community?
You could. Yeah, you could contract that out to, a private entity that's, someone's got the license. Or you could obviously talk to Union Township or the city of Mount Pleasant and see if they want to assume that role as the operator of the system, since they have people on staff for licensure.
So there's other options.
There are other options.
Than a full-time employee.
right.
That's a good suggestion.
Well, Isabella County has to replace them anyways, because they have their own wells that they have to. So they would have to have somebody on staff.
It
Or,
would seem like. they
or
would.
somebody else.
I didn't hear.
I'm saying Isabella County would have to have somebody on staff, because they got other wells besides this one, that they know that they go in service.
No, these are the only two municipal wells that they service.
The one down right across to the west of Hupshire is there a half a mile. I'm almost positive he told me that they service them once a week. They're test wells that they test.
Those are
They're for because of the
landfill.
landfill.
Those are different. So this is because it's a municipal drinking water system. So the licensure is the S4 is supply, the D is distribution. So it's the actual drinking water wells, where the monitoring wells for the landfill, those are not part of the D4 S4. That's a different MDL, because that's not drinking water. That's just monitoring wells to check basically for PFAS and other polluting chemicals coming out of the old landfill down there.
But I think his point's well taken. Aren't they going to have to
They can
replace
con-
the dude?
They're gonna have to do exactly what I think Bob
Yeah.
just said. They're gonna have to find somebody to
Right.
hire on a contractual basis, because they're not gonna bring a staff member on to
And
do
we can
this.
do that too.
Yeah.
Tim is against us doing that, but where Tim and I are separate, I'm all for it. If I'm gonna pay somebody money, I'd rather pay it to the village.
Yeah,
And you're a current customer.
That's easier to explain to.
yeah.
Someone have a cut.
Okay, and no report from Sherman Township, I would assume,
Correct.
because Jeff's not here. And do we get anything from the LIPOA?
Yes,
Okay.
talked with George today. And we talked about, probably would be a decent idea to get the liaison committee together, since we haven't actually done liaison. Everything's been lake, so if there's non-lake things that our two organizations should be talking about, we ought to look at doing that. He suggested December 12th at 9 a.m. for that meeting. If that works for you fine folks.
Who's on that committee?
Not me.
I think I might be, but I'm not.
You are,
I am.
and I'm gonna be gone, so you have to go.
Thank you, Paul.
I think it's Carol, Al, and Brent, I believe. Or Paul. It's
No,
Paul.
I was on,
It's Paul.
Brent went on for the,
Okay, yeah,
Okay, so
and I'm gonna be gone, so you two are.
Al and Carol are doing it. What date?
they suggested the 12th at 9 a.m.
Well, at least they said 9.
Yes, that is. Okay, thank you.
What date is that?
Who's Karen? Yeah.
All right,
No, December 12th?
that adopt a family shopping?
Yes,
You can't do that.
we could start later.
We could.
If I could just do the committee meeting and then go meet you. Will that work or no?
It will.
Pardon?
It will,
You don't look happy.
it's not that, it's just that since I won't be here and he'll be with the meeting. But we have
That's fine.
Mark.
That's fine.
We have Mark.
9 o'clock, that was decent, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I would like to congratulate Mr. Wolf on becoming an airport manager.
Thank you.
Next, he wanted a plane.
Yeah, he wants a patrol.
You got his drone license, now he wants a plane.
Yeah.
That's how it always starts.
I have two of them. He's saying, you don't have to give me a raise, just
Yeah,
give me a plane.
You just get a plane.
They've been on the list to do for quite a while and years ago, like 7, 8 years ago. I think Tom and I went up to Gaylord and had the 1-day class and he went down to Lansing and took it in person. At the time, that was the only option. So I sent him an email to inquire about, what's the, oh, the test is online now. Like, I'll take it. We got a good memory. Let's do this.
So Tim, is he stepping down or
No.
something? Or you're just making sure you were.
So our application, we're supposed to have a manager and an assistant manager.
Oh, okay.
And I've always listed myself as the assistant manager.
Makes it cleaner for us.
Now,
Yeah.
Makes it
Well, I
cleaner,
have no
easier.
problem.
No.
I just wonder what, if something happened that.
Okay. Anything else? Undo public hearing, proposed ordinance 2023-03.
Don't had to talk,
Pardon me?
nothing. I take it back.
Public hearing's open at 7:20. Mr. Manager, you wanna tell us what the summary is?
Sure, this is a public hearing for proposed ordinance 2023-04. It is the recodification of articles 8 and 10 of our ordinance book. These are the last two remaining in our recodification of our entire code, including the zoning code, which we did about this time last year. No calls, questions, or comments have been submitted to the office prior to the hearing.
Okay, this is a portion of the meeting for public comment. Any public comment? Anything online there, Tim? No? Okay, council? Anything?
Nope.
Okay, no questions, who accepted? Okay. Public hearing is closed, 7:21, that was a fast one. Of course, we've been working on it for a long time.
Here.
Really, it's
Okay.
about just making the font and everything.
Yeah, so, Mr. Laraway,
Motion to accept the 2020.
motion made by Laraway to accept ordinance 2023-03.
4. Or 4.
It was 4.
That's,
That's a typo.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, 24.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That was my
okay,
mistake.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Davis. Discussion. Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Paul Cuny,
Yes.
Al Davis,
Yes.
Dave Torgerson.
Yes. Motion carries, ordinance carries 6-0. First opportunity for public comments. Public comment, anyone? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to existing business. Agenda item 8, resolution 2023-20, is this 2023 now?
Yes, resolution.
This is the
20.
correct one.
Yeah.
Yes.
20.
Okay.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-20. Council compensation.
Per the discussion last month, I've returned with a resolution to, address the compensation discussion that we had in terms of, clerk, treasurer, finance, council members, also updated the policy on travel, training, those type of things. As mentioned multiple times, and I'll mention it again, none of the compensation changes take effect until the expiration of all the current terms on the council. So if everyone here served out all of their terms, January of 27 is when this would actually take effect to change compensation. Everyone here has to go through another election. So even if, it's not like when the three of you are up next, when you guys go, yours don't go up. You gotta wait for everybody to go through the cycle once, so.
It's only fair.
And you know, one of the things I put in there too, and this is also something you'll see later when we get to the training strategy stuff, is I expanded that training stuff quite a bit, especially on the development side boards, and that's intentional there because my hope is, you know, if we create opportunities for them to invest in themselves for skills and those type of stuff, they want to stay involved in the organization and eventually serve on this board here. But the resolution would, I think, do what you guys asked for last month. In terms of your compensation levels for future council members, special meeting compensation level. Yeah.
Any questions for Jim? Discussion? Okay, Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. To accept that.
Motion made by Davis to accept resolution 2023-20. Village council compensation. Is there a second?
Second.
CUNY, seconds? No.
It's because you aren't gonna be with us, so you should do it now.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to jail.
Surprise.
She knows something you don't know.
Yeah, I know. I always worry when she gives up so easy, you know.
So is there any further discussion? Aside. All right, roll call, please.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Paul CUNY.
I have to think about it.
Al Davis,
Yes.
and Dave Jorgensen.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Okay. New business. Resolution 2023-21 budget amendment.
As I informed you last month, the village has been awarded a grant of $168,225 from MDOT to do a resurfacing project on Clubhouse Drive from Coldwater Road to just past South Park. We did not include that project in our budget because obviously we didn't have grant funds at the time. We had it planned out for a smaller project next fiscal year for actually more money. So the current capital improvement plan had a resurfacing of Clubhouse from I think Fairway to Birdie, maybe give or take a little bit more. That was 217, I think the number off the top of my head. So we went back, we've amended the CIP, and we put together some budget amendments to allow us to move forward, obviously, with the project. This spring is when we're planning to do the Clubhouse Drive. Also, a little bit more money for some tree trimming in there. At the end of this fiscal year, these changes should result in a fund balance still in the major street fund of $244,000. Next year, we're gonna just do crack sealing because we want to maintain a respectable fund balance. We don't want to completely spend all of our money, all the people's money, I should say. So we're gonna push the chip and fog project off till 25-26. So what that looks like is the chip and fog we did this year at the road commission came in at 122. We had originally budgeted 150. The Clubhouse Drive mill and fill is 338,450, half of that coming from an MDOT grant. We've got to pick up all the engineering, which is 21,000. Next year, we're going to do the crack sealing. And then I would like to move up our replacement schedule on the New Holland. Mechanically, it is in good shape. There's no issues there. It would be, I think, far more efficient and safer for us to move up to a bigger machine. Go to a 40 to 45 horsepower as opposed to the 15. We could do a better ditch mower attachment at that point in time and get our operator into a cab, which is going to be safer and allow us to work more year round in that. And also the bigger horsepower machine would definitely come in more handy if we had to deal with debris in multiple locations from a storm, that kind of stuff. We could dispatch, the backhoe to one and this to the other. We would trade in the current tractor we had, we bought in 2007 for about 13 grand, if my memory is correct, give or take.
Yeah.
It's got like 2,000 hours on it, 2,300, I think, when I looked today. We should, get a little bit of a trade in off of that, especially the equipment is, and I'm fine buying used if we find a serviceable used on that machine. What,
Are you gonna have air conditioning and heat in
I'm not sure what the actual specs come. Is there-
it? If I really think you should get air
Yeah,
conditioning. in it. No, seriously, for,
Yeah, for heat, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
the heat and the air conditioning, because I think it's better all the way around and safer. You can close the doors, you don't have the doors propped open to get air in there and that stuff. I think it'd be better for our worker,
The air conditioning.
unless it's outrageous.
Yeah, the air conditioning, in my experience, has not always been the most reliable in those type of equipment, like it's already went out on our backhoe and it's not a expense that,
Yeah,
I prioritize in replacing that.
Window has one, a Boomer 50,
Yeah,
and he uses the air all the time. He says it works great.
Yeah, my tractor will freeze out.
yeah,
That's cold.
yeah, definitely do the heat, yeah.
I'm just saying, I think, for the worker in today's environment, we can't give big raises. or anything like that.
Yeah.
Be safer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to see it if we could.
And you don't have environmental issues as far as coming into the cab with debris and all that
Mhm.
too, so.
Well, talk about stuff. I was sitting in their kitchen and I've never seen it before. Sunlight's coming in. I never seen so much dust in our house. It's just, we don't clean the house anymore. Huh? And I was including myself, not just
You
her.
did we.
Yeah, we must not be good. I've never seen so much dust in all my life. It was all over the place in the kitchen.
You're going to Florida in a couple weeks, just leave it, and you come back.
It'll be like this
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
easy to see.
Yeah.
So the next two projects, maps up there on the board, so we'd look at for 24-25. Bundy Drive, so we stopped the chip and fog at Essex, so we would do that last little section from Essex down to the end of Queensway. We would crack seal Clubhouse from River coming back up north, and catch Birdie as well. Birdie shouldn't be a bad one because we just repaved it, but I want to stay on top of that. I would do some crack sealing on the chip and fog stuff we just did. That covered up all the small cracks, but if you drive it, you still see that there's the larger 1/4-inch cracks. They're filled, but they're still there. So if we could fill those, just better all around maintenance for the streets. And then that chip and fog, we would do River up to Birdie. So we would do exactly what we did on Queensway. We would chip over some of that new asphalt we put down. That's extends the life of that asphalt by keeping the water out of that material. And then we would do a double is what I'd recommend on Bonanza. And the reason the double, when we paved Bonanza, it was still a local street. So it got paved to the 2.5-inch standard. Our major street standard is 3.5. So it is a thinner asphalt layer than our other major streets, but it has such a low traffic volume that it doesn't warrant any type of significant investment. So doing the double chip to me is probably the best I can come up with. Get that first layer down to cover up all the cracks and then get a little bit more beef to it on top of that. So those are what would happen if these are adopted. We would tree trimming. We've got a couple of big cottonwoods we're going to go after and some other leaners that we want to get out of the way. So.
What? Okay. Darrell, entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the proposal.
Motion by Davis to accept resolution 2023-21 budget amendment.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Peavy. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Paul Cuny,
Yes.
Al Davis,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Dave Torgerson.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay. Row PSC agreement.
So with this being an MDOT grant project, there are some design, engineering, and bidding requirements that we typically avoid when we do things in-house because we have
It's
the
MDOT's,
abilities
yeah.
to manage project. So when we do a project, what we've historically done is we get an estimated quantity sheet from Row, we handle the bid and we do it in a lump sum. The MDOT project, you gotta go an itemized bid. You also have to have them obviously do the spec and deal with that. So they have prepared a proposal to do the design and the construction engineering on the project. I think it comes out to about 21, I think 9 and 12 or 12 and 9.
This is just for the fog.
This is just for the Clubhouse Drive project.
Because the other ones we're gonna do.
Correct, yeah, those will do the same way. I'm actually gonna apply for another Cat B grant on the chip and bog.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Might as well.
Good idea.
Okay. Further discussion.
Have you price shop, bro, like asked for another quote? Like, I don't know, just,
The village has a contract with them for exclusive engineering going back to 1998.
is it the required?
That's not, no. I mean, there's no end date to it. If the council wants to go out for engineering bids, we would need to go out and solicit for new proposals from firms.
That's something I think we should look at, maybe not now, but.
I'm
agree
not
with
saying they
that.
do a bad job,
Right.
but I mean, if you have that business for that long, it never hurts to see what other people come in at, you know, if they know they're not bidding against anyone. Are they gonna throw in some extra? Makes sense, right?
I would be shocked if you're gonna find a more competitive price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only say that because what we talked about with ARPA money for the last 2 years is everybody got a whole lot of money. There's only so many CEs, PEs and planners around to spend on infrastructure and community development. So everyone's trying to do projects right now. Build jails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your point is, well,
It is a good-
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm not putting a timetable on, maybe someday,
Yeah, we can,
talk about it.
I think after this project, that would be,
We have to act on that.
Yes,
Have to record it.
we didn't have, we didn't have a motion yet, did we?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Cooney to accept the Rose agreement and, whatever it is, budget estimate.
Yeah.
Okay, seconded by Laraway. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Carol Shannon, yes. Paul Cuny,
Yes.
Al Davis,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
yes,
Fran Peavy,
Yes.
Dave Torgerson.
Yes, motion carries.
Tim, while we're talking about that Keel con here, shouldn't we have Keel as excused on the top?
yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, good point. Thank you.
Okay, next agenda item, King's franchise extension.
Let's see here, it was last, what, Thursday? I think. Thursday night we had dinner?
Yep, Thursday.
Met with the Kings last Thursday night. Their exclusive franchise expires at the end of the calendar year. We talked through, the things that they are hoping to see in the renewal. I sent that all to the council before. Basically a 50 cent per month increase on all the service packages, or $6 a year. And then the individual tag price going from $1.50 to $2. I put in the packet, and it's up on the board, the comps from 2018 for pricing that began in 19 for Granger and Republic. And in my opinion, this would have still been the best bid we received 6 years later. So certainly my recommendation to approve the renewal with them. It's worked very well for our community. I think it's worked well for them. That's a good relationship. I would definitely strongly support us continuing.
I agree.
Heard nothing but good things.
And they are here tonight if you have any questions.
I've spoken to a number of people in my neighborhood and area, and they're all 100% happy with it.
Yep, you guys do a nice job.
Yes.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys saying that.
You do a good job.
Sometimes even over and above.
Right. It was a little confusing sometimes to my neighbor who forgets to put the trash out, and then you go get it and bring it out for them. And then they say, did you do that? No. Mm-mm. But I did take it back, but not. So it's very nice that you do that.
Well, that's just something we can do. We're not
It's nice.
pressured,
It's-
we're not pressured by a time,
True.
you know,
Yeah, that is
to
nice.
some degree. To some degree, until
Right.
His mom gets after us.
So.
Yeah, and
in other
Cheryl
words,
is
what
in
you're saying
charge,
is I
yeah.
don't have to take it to the curb anymore, I can just leave it.
Mike is your driver, so you're good. Not this Mike.
Not
the
this
other Mike.
The older Mike.
Starting next month.
Speaking as one of the older
Yes, sir.
customers, and I'm being older chronologically, I appreciate the extra help they do once in a while too.
You know, I have to say one thing that I really appreciated. This summer, your truck was parked on the street and I'm thinking, why is it sitting there? You know, it's three or four more houses, then I can put my can away and go. Somebody down farther on Clubhouse Drive, I guess had painted their house and they threw the cans in the truck. With the guy not knowing it, they're picking it up because it was in a bag, and then when it crushed, paint all over the place. And they didn't want to move because they didn't want to have the whole street painted. But yeah, and you guys were very good about getting out there, getting it done, but you know, that could have been a disaster.
Unfortunately, that happens. That happens with paint, it happens with oil. I mean,
I understand, but that, you guys handled it very well. I appreciate it.
We do our best to contain stuff like that. There's just times that we literally can't keep it in the
No way you
truck.
can
Right.
tell.
Especially when it
Throw it in
explodes
the
like
bag.
that.
Yeah.
That makes a big mess. It's really nice, when it doesn't cover us.
Yeah, I bet.
That happens
that
more
happens
times
as
than
well.
not.
Oh, wow.
I never even thought of that.
No.
We just have to tell ourselves it's clean trash and spray.
Yes.
Okay. Mhm. And it's a color you like, so.
Yes, it's a perfect color.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about was we really, I feel, are privileged that we get to do business still with a small business.
Yes,
Like,
I agree.
you know, it's something that is not common anymore. And for us to be able to have a personal relationship, I think is something valuable for our community. And that's not to discount Granger or Republic and what they do, but it's different dealing with a corporation than dealing with a small business.
Based on that, I'd like to make a recommendation that we continue. And with these upgraded changes.
Motion made by CUNY to accept 2024 franchise extension agreement, seconded by Mr. Laraway. Is there further discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Paul Cuny,
Yes.
Al Davis,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
Yes,
Brett Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes, Dave Travis.
Yes.
I forgot to include them picking it up at my spot and at the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
Oh, they did show up, right?
Yeah, they showed up tonight. There you go.
They said starting next month.
Next month, yeah, I'll do it for 5 months free. 5 months free when we come back.
I went home and complained to Cheryl about that.
I will say, I did win an argument against him today.
Yeah.
About the tags. I'm very proud about this. Because of course, with the price change on the tags, he was convinced that the price was right on the tags.
Nope.
That's exactly it. And I'm like, I looked specifically the Monday following our discussion. I'm like, I'm confident I didn't see it. Well,
You just have so many things going on, Mike.
Yeah.
that, you know.
I just ordered them right the first time is what he said.
Fair enough.
I can see the discussions are interesting.
yeah.
They gotta be.
Hold on right up here, okay?
Hold on 40 minutes.
Okay, Village of Boone property.
The village, many years ago, purchased an 80-acre parcel from Maurice for $65,000. It was originally excavated in the late 70s for use in a village sewer system that obviously was never constructed. We have never really utilized the parcel for any purposes, and it has come up in discussion as a potential option, if necessary, for the dredging project if we wanted to put the spoils basically in the giant holes that have already been created there. The committee obviously has 3 members of the council on it, but the council itself has never went on record whether or not that would be something that you would entertain as far as a disposal location, if that is what is needed when the time comes for a permit from the state.
I don't have a problem with it, but if we talk with Mike or
I'm not sure.
Jerry, to see if they're, how they're,
That would be my next conversation.
yeah. I bet you they're gonna approve it, but
Well, all they have is hunting rights and fishing rights. And
Yeah.
wood, and you know, they can take the wood off at any
Yeah.
time.
well, I think we'd have to get the wood probably. And we can take off what we need to do this.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're gonna keep their hunting rights. And they're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
keep their
Yeah.
fishing. I didn't know they had fishing, but it makes sense. They cover.
Not,
everything
there's
else.
fish on the property, you know.
You know, with what's going on with, Nottawa, Sherman Township, Cowater Lake, Wademan, you know, the DEQ or Eagle, whatever, you know, they're mandating that they put in a sewer system. I could see, I personally don't wanna see them filled in for that reason, cause the Eagle could come along and tell Lake Isabella, hey, this is it. And, you know, we're losing our future, sewer system right there. You know, and, you know, I'm thinking long-term on the sewer system, short-term on the lake dredging.
Let me ask you a question, Tim, based on that. Those lagoons, they were never intended to do the whole lake, were they? And they're not big enough for that, is it?
I don't believe so.
I don't either, so I
They're-
think we're gonna have, if they ever forced us to do it, we'd have to go all the way into Mount Pleasant.
There were supposed to be 4 lagoons.
Okay,
They fully excavated 2, they started on the 3rd. You know, a sewer mandate is an interesting discussion because it has to first come with a notice of violation that the environmental rules and regulations have been violated. But I believe that would then fall to the township as the primary unit of government, not the village.
oh, okay, that makes sense.
Because
That does
villages
make
are
sense.
secondary units of government,
Mhm.
like the county. So cities and townships are primary units of government by law in Michigan.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they would go at that point in time. But I think we would definitely be able to say, hey, we're not the primary unit of government here. These environmental rules are their charge, not ours.
So because we were talking about doing it volunteering before, we could do it,
Yeah.
but since they're.
Yeah, we could absolutely do it.
enforcing,
But I think if a mandate came down, we've talked to our attorney about this in the past, it would go to the township is what our attorneys feel.
That
not
makes
us.
sense.
Could they take them over on adverse, or not adverse possession?
Eminent domain?
Eminent domain, because it's inside their township. And I guess what I'm looking at is, you know, every time you get a new administration down in Lansing, they all change the rules to go with their idea.
Well, here's
And
the
if somebody come in and change the rules, where's that gonna leave us?
So Sherman Township could not take that parcel because it's in Broomfield Township. It is outside their jurisdiction. So if the mandate came to Broomfield, they could potentially, I think, go after that for eminent domain, but not Sherman.
Sure.
That's what we ran into when we looked at doing it with the road up here to Quessa, is because it was outside of our jurisdictional boundaries. We didn't have eminent domain right to take to Quessa.
And see, I was using them as an example, you
Yep.
know, the state come in and says, this is what you guys are gonna do.
I think the most cogent point that Tim made though is there has to be violations ahead of time. And that's been, unfortunately, Coldwater Lake in that area has had violations since 1945. Because the septic is here and the well is over here 10 feet away. It's because they built it up and when there weren't any rules.
Right. But now Wademan, I mean, and this is off the subject in a way, is Wademan definitely getting a sewer system? I mean, are they've been at fault, right? Because,
They have a notice of non-compliance from the state.
Some of the wells in Wademan are 15 feet.
And where there's a different factor for like Wademan is, you know, the village of Wademan is a plat going back to around the turn of the century, if not older. And the lot sizes.
The last thing.
Are not of sufficient size to support on-site systems. So any of the current systems could not be replaced because the properties aren't big enough to meet sanitation code when they're replacing it. So that was a contributing factor on why the state issued that for Sherman Township and Wademan is, you know, yes, there are violations, but also there's not the ability for them to correct it without this.
Well, I do know that there's a group out there that's trying to stop it from Wademan, and I'm saying, guys, how can you stop it? It's a state requirement now. It's not the Wademan that's asking to do it, or the people of Wademan, it's the state saying it. So I said, I don't think you can do anything.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time, you're spinning your wheels.
So if we went ahead with our idea about using the lagoon property for our dredging material, and then Broomfield decided eminent domain, they would get the material and the former ponds.
Correct.
Okay, so,
And this is only relevant if you have to find a disposal site that is basically yours. So
yes,
any of the stuff that comes back clean, historically, the state lets you do whatever you want with it. This is any of those samples that come back that say it has to either go to a landfill or be deed restricted site that you own, you know, so you can keep it upstream as long as you deed restrict it, is how the state has typically done
Okay.
soils like this, so.
I think,
That helps you, you know, because it does, they get the stuff from the lake anyway.
Well, the only thing is
If they want it,
if we're
they can
still
take it.
forced, you know, Lake Isabella or whomever is
Right.
forced to put in a sewer system,
we have to make it
you know, the option of using those that they're filled up is gone.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Well, but, you know, the problem is, we can keep going on what ifs, and
I
we never
understand.
get anything done.
Sure.
That's. I say we do it, we give them the right, if they need it. But do we do a tentative one right now in case something comes up, or? do we-
I don't really need action from the council. It's never
okay.
really been discussed formally at this board. So if it comes up at the lake committee, we can say, you know, the council has definitely discussed this and are, you know, certainly open to working.
would we want it though as a lake committee meeting, would we want to know? We might want a formal, don't you think? The council saying, yeah, we'll do that.
I mean, when we go to get bids,
Right.
we're gonna have to know.
Yeah.
what's-
Yes, and that's
So
gonna
I
be one of
think-
the
I
questions.
think that might be an important factor to
Yes.
have.
So I guess we should vote on it tonight.
Yes, that's what I-
Do it.
Can we do that
I can
tonight?
do whatever.
All right, I like it.
Carol, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Cooney that we use the village lagoon property if necessary, allow the dredging spoils to go there. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Peavy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no.
You know,
Motion carries. Okay. Chickens and bees.
So at last month's meeting, this was discussed and the council asked to get some additional feedback on it. So we did an online survey through, we put up on Facebook, put on our website, ran it through Survey Monkey, had 250-ish people take it. So any of these numbers, I would say plus or minus 5% is the window you're looking at. So roughly 1 in 5 or 20% are actually interested in having chickens, so 15 to 25. 64 are comfortable with their neighbors having chickens, and I worded it that way, like, if you don't want it, are you cool with your neighbor having it? So 57.59 to 15.69. 60% feel you should have a permit. Bees, surprisingly, more people were cool with their neighbor having bees. Only 1 in 10 were interested in having bees themselves. But a higher number also thought you should have permits. The planning commission reviewed this at their meeting last week and just had a general discussion about it. They brought up some good points to consider if the council does move forward with any type of regulatory changes to our ordinances to make this permissive. The big concern they had on bees was bee flyaway and potentially having, minimum parcel size to lower that risk. They also suggested that if you do move forward, Mr. Laraway suggested, do it as 2 different ordinances at the same time. That way, you're not handcuffed into voting yay or nay if you want one or the other. Yeah.
Okay, so we're saying 228 people or 30 people,
250-ish.
250 is about 15% of our population. Responded.
That bothered to respond, yeah.
Yes, that's what I
Sure,
mean.
there's
That
more out there,
responded. Well, that's the point.
I talked to my neighborhood, I've talked to 10 different people.
What you get?
They're all have no problem with chickens. 2 of them had a problem with bees. So,
I think it's a good idea to two separate.
yeah, if you lump them together and somebody doesn't want bees, they're gonna have to vote against chickens too.
Right.
And I don't want to see that happen.
I haven't talked to anybody that would support either of these things, not one person.
Yeah.
We got any online comments?
It doesn't, I mean, we're a neighborhood, we're tightly packed in, I mean, I'm not against chicken or beekeeping, that's just like farm activities, you know, it's. You can't have cows, you can't have horses, you can't have chickens, I mean. I've never heard of chickens in a subdivision, like this is basically a subdivision, right? I've never heard of chickens in a subdivision. Like, we have point restrictions for our garages, you know, you have to get so many points, you have to have windows on your garage doors and all this stuff, but your neighbors can have chickens. You know, what if you're out the 4th of July and I have chickens on my lake lot and chickens are running all over your lake lot, like, we're gonna have chickens on lakefront homes? Is that gonna be okay?
You can say no to waterfront homes.
Because they
Oh,
don't
you
put chickens out
you
there.
do zone out for barns in different places, you can do different things, so why can't you do it different?
I think we have to discuss more than, I think we
Yes.
actually need more than 15% of the population responding to this, if we can get it, because I know what's going to happen.
Think
'Cause
about,
I live with one that's not for this.
think about like
Yeah.
how much his barn, how much that moved the needle over his barn that he's paying with his money.
And there are no
Right.
That
chickens.
doesn't affect anybody else, like.
Right.
And there
His
was
barn's not gonna go-
before mine, right over there, and they didn't say a thing about it, but when it came to my area, it did. So,
Yeah,
And
and
that's the
given
problem.
the time change and things, the way people are thinking about different things. There's a lot more people that are starting to raise chickens for eggs, for, you know, and I'm not talking about a 50 chicken
Yeah.
ranch. I mean, there's people are keeping 10, 12 chickens, and they're doing it for the eggs and sustainable food, I guess you want to call it.
but the other thing, Bob, we could say, just like the garages, okay, this section can have chickens, this section can't.
You can regulate the areas where, you know, there's some areas where I would agree that the people there probably wouldn't want them. But, there's other areas that we have people that do want them,
Sure.
and I think we owe it to them to be reasonable about it.
To be honest, yeah, I don't know which way.
Flat
I
out,
mean,
no, I can't say that.
No, I'm not, I'm just, I understand your point exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, again,
So
you
I
can
think-
have your point by restricting the areas.
Mhm.
Right.
You're gonna open up a big can of worms, you know, we hired an enforcement officer, we're paying him, we bought a vehicle to enforce all this stuff, and now we're just gonna say you can have chickens. Like, does that make any
I
sense?
don't see the connection there.
Like, any person I've ever seen with chickens, like, they're just running all over the yard, they're in the road, they're everywhere.
We've got several residents that already have chickens and they have not been a problem. I've got one that's half
My
a
point
mile.
exactly, we can't even enforce it now, and they're not supposed to have them. How are we gonna police them once everybody has?
There's been no enforcement attempt because there's been no problem and no complaints.
So if these surveys are true, 1 in 5 households, how many houses are here?
1,000
1,000 houses, 1 in 5, we're gonna have 200 houses with chickens?
that are interested in having chickens. That's how the question was worded.
That's a lot of chickens. Eggs are $1 a dozen, I mean.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are. I looked it up today before the meeting.
Are
Go
you
to Walmart,
serious?
$1 a dozen.
Oh,
Well, they're probably lower for the holiday. They're usually about
Yeah.
$2 a dozen. but
yeah,
point being,
good point.
earlier this year, they were 7 a dozen.
Yeah, true, that's, yeah.
No,
I think we ought to,
regulating the areas where
we ought
they're
to
allowed, I think
postpone this thing and look at it as far as do we.
Oh, we
wanna
have to
do it?
discuss this more. There's a
Yes.
diversity of opinion right
Yes.
here. Yeah.
But then we could also look at, do we want to do it by areas too?
Well, you know, Tim, it goes to that larger thing that you and I have spoken about before. There's different areas, different parts of our community
Yeah,
that are different than other parts of our community.
Right.
this is true.
Where you have those 2.5, 3 acre lots on north, that's different
yeah.
than down where you and I live and Carol lives, because we are Cheek and Joe.
Right, yeah.
And
I can have.
there
a lot
are
of
some,
chickens.
well, but I mean,
I agree.
even if
Yeah,
it's
I
across the
agree.
street, they're still there.
Yeah,
So I can understand both sides of this. I'm not against anything. I don't mind the bees because I think that our whole agronomy society relies on them too much not to be proactive with bees. Even though I understand the inherent danger with somebody that's allergic, but still,
Yeah. But that's,
bees, we won't have to worry about chickens if the bees die off.
I reached out to an old friend of mine who lives downstate, he keeps bees.
Mhm.
And I asked for his input and he was very, you need to do a signage and you need to notify people. And keep it away from he keeps them out in the woods behind his house. But,
I think lot size would have a lot to do with
lot
how-
size, and that would be the same for chickens too.
That's what I mean, a lot.
My lot over there on Madrid, I wouldn't want chickens over there, but you've got people with 3 and 4 lots together. And they want 10 or 20 or 10 or 12 chickens, I don't have a problem with that. You want 20 or 30? Yeah, I got a problem with it. But a dozen chickens running around with a coop in there and isolated lot, I have no problem with that.
when it comes to bees, most people get stung by wild bees more than honeybees.
I never was bothered with the bees at the hunt camp. I thought that was gonna be a problem because one of the blinds was right near. Never bothered.
I don't think we're gonna end up approving bees, just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna throw the chickens out with the beehives.
That's why we keep them separate.
that will become a proverb, I'm
Keep
sure.
them separate and listen to the people that want it, because they're living here and paying the taxes and voting like anybody else. And if they want 10, 12 chickens and the neighbors aren't complaining and they're in an area that we approved it, I see no reason not to do it.
But you're always gonna have 1 or 2 neighbors that are gonna complain about anything, Bob. I'm not saying that's the way you hold it. I'm just saying there always is gonna be somebody bipping about something.
Well, that's what bothers me about only having 15%.
Yeah.
Of the people that responded said, I mean,
But people,
39% of the people that responded said they don't have a problem.
So somewhere out there
So
must
that's
be,
not very many people.
right, must already be rules written about keeping chickens and bees, so we wouldn't have to create our own little thing. So could we have those to look at in the future?
Yeah, they're in your July packet.
Oh, fine, thank you. Alrighty, fine.
that was a slam dunk.
That was, I'm just going to leave now.
So let's,
Okay, I'll go back to my packet.
let's keep that on discussion. We'll put it on next month's agenda too, because I think it's an important thing to discuss.
I agree.
I don't know if it has to be in next month's agenda, but let's keep it in our forefront anyway.
Well, yeah, I'm not locked in the next month's agenda either,
Right.
because I don't know what all we've got on, but
Right.
same token, I don't think it would be in the best interest of our residents to drag this on, drag it on.
Well, they're not gonna get them now in the winter,
Well, no, but,
so we can push it off until at least everybody's here.
Until bee season, in the spring.
Oh, gosh.
All right.
Be everywhere.
Let's go to new business number 6, 2024 master plan survey discussion.
So, the thought that I had after listening to this discussion is it may be, if you feel that plus or minus 5% sample size is not satisfactory, The way we've historically done the master plan survey is we send out a print newsletter to inform the people of it and give kind of an overview. It's still done online because it's the easiest way to get it tallied. We could potentially have some chicken regulations, you know, included on the community development or quality of life section of the survey, you know, 1 or 2 questions, not a lot, but,
Right.
you
Good
know.
idea.
Well, then we'd at least have 2 different.
We
Yes.
did a survey in the fall, this is the feedback, this is
Yep.
the, you know, the thought process, you know. Cause typically we've gotten 400-ish, 350, 400 that take the master plan survey, so that plus or minus shrinks from about 5 to about 3%. And, you know, by hard mailing it to people, you do make sure that you're not just targeting the online demographic. Like our Facebook users, skew more female than male in terms of our actual demographics in the community. You can get all that data from Facebook, but, yeah. So the survey, you've got kind of the set of questions that we've been working on. We have a good well to draw from because we've done this multiple times now. And while we've included some newer questions, we've also included some of the greatest hits because that allows us to track changing attitudes, perceptions, feelings in our community. A couple of new ones. One hits on the point that Mr. Torgerson talked about in his report. There's a question proposed under the public safety questions about if the county is forced to cut road patrols due to budget constraints, you know, what would you like us to do? Because I'm not trying to play Chicken Little and the sky is falling, but with the financial issues, not just from the jail and their other issues and now the asbestos, Isabella County as an organization has some very serious financial issues ahead of them that they're gonna have to navigate. And that's really the big ticket item that they have, this discretionary funding, because they're not legally required to do road patrols. They're required to do a jail, they're not required to do road patrols. But, you know, a new section I put on there is community engagement, and I think that's really relevant for us because as we looked at trying to engage with our community, you know, things are a lot different in terms of those options than they were even 5 years ago, certainly 10 or 15 years ago, in terms of what avenues people are using, those type of things. So, helping us refine how we engage and where we engage, I think is relevant data. You know, the streets questions, you know, I included a question about water and sewer in there as a potential. Do you think we need to pursue either of these projects? We've historically included that question because that is good ammunition in case we're ever pressed on it, like, hey, 70% of our community say no, you don't want us to do this. You know, public safety, typical questions, that we've done in the past, so. Don't need anything tonight from you, just wanted to get it on your radar to look at. We'll probably look at the first of the year to actually do the newsletter and go kind of live with this. I am gonna present this list also to the Lake Committee. They meet next Wednesday. Say, are there questions about the lake or about our project that you want us to throw in there? Because this is a great opportunity to get feedback on those type of questions, so.
You have a target number of questions you'll include?
No, we try and keep it, you know, something can do in about 15 minutes, you know. In the past, we've also went around and gotten gift cards. We buy them from like Out of Bounds golf course and say, if you want to leave your email address, you know, and you complete the survey, we'll enter you in a drawing to win a gift card. Haven't decided if we're going to do that or not again. But definitely one of the things out there that we could definitely look at to help entice participation and support our local businesses.
Yeah, the more community engagement, not just engagement, but the more people that we can get understanding how important this is for us to make decisions, because like I said, I don't like to make it on
No.
a decision for 2,000 people because of 200.
And if you look at the survey stuff that we did in 2008, questions we asked on there were millage for police, solid waste service, things that we actually went and implemented and
Right.
did. This survey is a very important thing in how we do the master plan, and that shapes what we do as an organization over the coming years.
Yep, because we all bear in mind that we're trying to do the best for the community.
Yeah.
And we all, and I'm very proud of us. I think we do that.
Mhm. Thank you.
I think it's one of the things that we do. Whether you're for something or against something, we have, when we make a decision as a unit, we all say, okay, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
Okay,
And if I'm not here back from Florida, I know I can't vote on, but I am in support of doing what you guys are talking about. Doing the survey.
okay, good. Anybody else? All right, redevelopment ready community service training.
So your last two items of business under new business are the last two items that the council needs to take formal action on for us to submit to MEDC for the completion of the redevelopment ready communities program. The first of these two items is a formal training policy. This policy is targeted for our development related boards. So the RRC program is development related. So CBA, Planning Commission, and Council, because you do play a role with rezonings and those type of projects. The thing that we did, we looked at some samples. What we came up with too was doing, working off of the Michigan Association of Planners. Our insurance company covers some training, the MMRMA, and put together kind of a recommended type curriculum. That these are the higher priority trainings that we would hope you go after first before you go after some other ones. Including in there, like, go after your citizen planner certificate, these type of things. All in all, with the goal of having more people that are highly trained in your organization, which lowers your risk potential, lowers your risk of getting sued, makes you have better decisions made as a group at a table like this. We've allocated money in training historically, in the past, when the brochure comes out in usually February from MAP that's got their spring list of classes. We tell the Planning Commission, any of them you want, same with ZBA. So this would just formalize kind of that and add to it that these are some other options that we want to encourage you to look at as people who are serving in our organization.
Who's the next step?
Yeah.
As a community.
And as we talked earlier, the driving factor behind the change in council compensation is being, at least neutral for someone to serve in the future, that they're not, serving for nothing. Doing things like this, I think, helps build that bench of people that you might be able to entice to want to serve at a later date in time, because it develops that culture that you're building into everybody in the organization.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Like the idea of it. On to public participation, community engagement strategy.
And we don't have to vote on
I
that?
need you to vote to that.
Yeah.
Oh, to adopt this, I'm sorry.
Same with the next one, yeah.
Got it. Oh, there it is. I'll entertain a motion.
I could put accepted without objection, but
Yeah, you could.
What are you thinking? This is a mandatory thing for the whole council members or just certain council members or somebody coming? Preparing to get on the council, what, I guess I need to clarify, what part of that you're thinking?
we can't force you as an elected official to do anything. I mean, part of that, if you looked at who does say that we're gonna do some in-meeting training, so 1 hour a year in meetings, and that can be, 15 minutes once a quarter, you get a refresher on FOIA from me, something like that. Covers that.
Kind of like you did with the planning commission.
Yep, where we did a sample site plan exercise, we walked through it, so including that as part of our, standard operating procedure, but then also, you know, I think going on record that you have the ability that if you wanted to do any of these, that we support that and we're gonna cover those costs. You know, if you wanted to go after a citizen planner certificate or go to the site plan kind of review training or, Paul, you took what was zoning ordinance A to Z this last year?
Not this last year.
The year before, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the year before.
You and I both took that one.
Yeah.
ZBA members, I think almost all have done ZBA, the first level ZBA. Most of our planning commissioners have done, I think, site plan review. We did one, it just worked perfectly that the webinar night was the same as the planning commission meeting, so we did that for the meeting that night. I think it was risk management, maybe?
No, these are just basically short courses,
Yeah, they're like an hour webinar, hour and a half.
so we could do it as a group also.
Yep. They're like,
I think it's more beneficial if at least two people are participants to discuss, because
Well, I mean,
it'd
yeah,
be nice as a group to do it too.
yeah,
it'd be nice, because that's what we did all the time, we went to the MML conference.
yep. And that's in there too. If you want to go after your elected official, well,
Mhm.
certain levels, I put in the disclaimer, I am a homer because I'm on their board of trustees, but it is good, training.
You know, I should go.
Well, could we open this up for, to potential candidates to one on, so that they're. I guess
We're not
that
gonna pay
was,
for it, no.
no, but,
Yeah.
the programs could be.
Yeah.
Pay for the board, but I
So-
mean, the programs
Why
could
is
be
that
opened
showing
up
up
to
there?
somebody that's possibly interested in, that, you know, coming on board. But Paul's not gonna be here forever, well, for the next 5 months.
Next 5 months, but then I come back and then it again.
Yeah, see.
You just can't trust me.
So most of these are like online trainings.
Yeah, most of them are now. Let's see, why am I not getting this to show? Duplicate the display, that would be the setting I need. Who needs an IT department, right?
Good stuff. I'm just, pretty burned out with like webinars.
Oh, yeah.
Right now. Like we switched insurances, we do a bunch of safety stuff, so it's webinars.
And Barbados is such a tough place to do that stuff.
That was the Dominican.
Oh, Dominican, sorry.
Or Mexico.
You can junk it right.
Ireland and April.
So,
Shame you have to do that.
He wants the village to get internet fraud on the way.
If we're going to
Sits on the
Cancun for
pontoon,
this training, I'm there, you go.
There you
If we're
go.
going offshore, I'm in. I'll make a motion right now.
so this is right available on MAP's website, Michigan Association of Planning. These are all free ones right now. You can watch anytime. So you've got, you know, Planning Enabling Act, you've got master plans. These are all free right now. Just go and click on them, watch them. What I was thinking about Al's comment too, was on our website, IsabellaMI.org. If you want to, so you can apply to be on their committees online. So one of the things we did on our site, on this page here, we built in some tables that not just give you here's what you do on these boards, but also here's what we ask of you in terms of your commitment. We could definitely build on this to include that, you know, here's our training policy, here's the training that, you know, is available to you and kind of what our expectation is. You know, we're not gonna boot you off if you can't do it, obviously, but, you know, we definitely want to encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities, to attend these, because they are valuable, especially, you know, the planning and development stuff especially. You know, you get on and like a ZBA member, like, oh, you know, nobody's got a problem with this, I guess we're all good. It's like, well, actually, they don't have a hardship, you know, just because everybody's cool with it, doesn't mean you should probably grant the variance, you know. But
We need a motion to accept this.
yeah, sir.
I'll make the motion.
Motion to, accept the redevelopment and ready community training strategy made by Davis. Is there a second?
I will.
Seconded by Shannon. All right. Any discussion? Since this involves paying money, we better, do a roll call, please.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Brett Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes, Paul Cuny,
Yes,
Al Davis,
Yes.
Dave Jones.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Public participation in community engagement strategy.
So the last part of the RRC program that we have to do is, we've had a public participation and engagement strategy for several years. Because we're in the program. Does need to be updated. More importantly, I have to provide you with a report of what our engagement activity has been over the last, I did the last 4 quarters. Because we're an odd point in the year. But that is in your packet. And I'm going to it here because I don't have it in front of me. And later, it's out. So the updated plan, really the only part that has changed in the plan, is we added, in the toolbox, we added this matrix here. So when something comes up, whether it's special land use, again, these are all specific to development related issues. So that's what the program is based on. You know, we highlighted the ones that are required, the recommended, we'll do it. And then, we'll consider doing these other ones like a survey, potentially, the e-notify, which we have available now, on our website. And then over the last year, we broke it down this way in terms of the Facebook posts that we did, what our reach on Facebook was during those months. We're gonna actually go in and add analytics to our website. Google changed how they did their analytics several years ago, and we didn't bring that forward to the new site when we did that this last year, so we gotta reboot that. Streaming meetings, how many meetings we stream each month between council, plan commission, lake committee, public hearings, how many newsletters or mailings did we do? And you can see in October and July, we were pretty heavy on those because those corresponded with elections. So we had the November election last year, the August election this year. The May one was our typical spring one where we do the fireworks fundraising through. Again, those are questions also that we have in the master plan survey, like, are you reading the newsletters when you get them? Are they effective? Is it, that kind of stuff, but all in all, I'm pretty pleased with the reach we've gotten on Facebook. I think the streaming meetings has been a good addition for the organization. We completely relaunched our website this year. So that was something that we knocked out in March. I think we were very heavily engaged around both elections in terms of social media. I included some of the stuff that we had posted online throughout the year. So that was one of our Facebook posts that we did. So we were trying to be visual with things around the lake and building right off that FAQ that we put together and mailed out. Drone photos, newsletter, our fireworks mailing, the second year in a row that we've done an online donation option for fireworks. You just click the QR code right there when you get your mail and donate. The new website, and we maintain a Facebook account, maintain a YouTube account. Donor box was the fundraising arm, and then we also have the e-notify option available on our website, which for those of you scoring at home is available right here on the bottom left corner of the white box on the website. Go in there, and right now you can sign up for alerts on the minutes, the election page, and bidding opportunities. So definitely have those options available right now. We can definitely build on that a little bit more. But yeah, I think for an organization of our size and resources, we do a pretty decent job in terms of messaging. So a motion would need to be made to update the plan because it has that new matrix in it.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
It's made by Peavy to update the public participating community plan.
I'll second.
Seconded by Cuny. Discussion? Seeing none? This doesn't involve Doe. So it's not a policy thing.
Just prayer go, it's fine.
All in favor, say aye or yay.
Aye.
Those say no. Motion carries. All right, second opportunity for public comment. Okay. Public comment, council comments.
I do, but I don't want to be shot for it. You mentioned and quite accurately that nobody's gonna probably do anything with chickens until next year anyway, because they want to do it during the winter. I just don't want to see us get caught next year starting from scratch. I think we've got 6 months to hash it out. That would be the time to do it, so we could hit the ground running if and when people do want to.
I agree with you.
So I'm saying I don't want it to be a dead issue for 6 months.
I agree.
I want to continue forward with it on the agenda. Yep, that's the extent of my comment.
Okay,
Thank you for agreeing.
do you want on the next month's agenda? So we keep it live, I mean,
I think we need to keep it live and moving so that come spring, we're ready to hit the ground running with it.
okay, well, let's do this. Let's everybody review that package we got in July.
I'll email it again.
Oh,
Okay?
sure, thank you.
And so if we have any questions or anything, we at least have a reason to have it on the agenda to discuss it.
And like,
And Brent said too,
he brought up some good points,
Yes.
like designating the areas and things like that.
I can also probably find some sample ordinances from around. the
That would
land.
be-
that would be nice too, yeah.
That'd be lovely
There you
too.
go.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep, announcements. The Lake Committee meeting is the 29th at 4 P.M.
Yep.
Yep. This month, so if you're interested, you can come and observe.
The 19th is your December meeting date. The audit will be presented then.
Okay,
19th.
okay. We now need a motion to go into closed session to discuss Tim's performance review. Closed session, motion made by CUNY to go into closed second, seconded by
Me.
Bob Laraway. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries.